Okay, according to the okay. So my favorite project was about databases, and specifically what I wanted to do was make a program which helped my parents planning their workouts a little bit more efficient. So my parents have recently gotten really into fitness. We have our little garage and a gym, but it usually takes about an hour out of my dad's day to record data for his workouts that he does. He's very numerical. He records the amount of weight he does, the type of workouts, the amount of reps he does. And it's led to this huge Excel sheet with a bunch of different instances, and it's very hard to read and organize. So, my goal was, although part of my goal was to make this program, it was overall to learn about databases and how to modify them uh, to stay permanent even when a program has stopped running and started running again. And I think you'll notice that we do something like this in class, and that kind of gave me a conflict in my plan from the original start of the 9 weeks. But a couple problems I ran into is that working on the UI for the program took way too much time. It kind of took away from the purpose of learning about this databases, and it started to become about how well I can make my program look. So it was kind of hard because I was spending majority of my time on the UI and not the actual programming, because the UI had to be good for my programming to work. Second is I had a hard time working with Python. I was trying to code it all with Python, but again, just like the UI, it took a lot of time out of actually working with data, trying to get the databases to work, and a lot more of just like basic coding to go in between screens and all of that. And then lastly, and this is probably the most important, and that's what I was mentioning earlier, is we're working on SQL in class, which is pretty much what my project was supposed to be doing. SQL basically allows us to keep this data, keep tables, and allow them to like stay modified, and has all of these different commands. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with my project. So I was a little conflicted because I did not want my project to be something that we worked on in class. So this is the new plan. My new plan, which was coming probably right around the beginning of the break, probably, is I was trying to figure out a different way to incorporate databases and to modify them rather than the SQL we learned in class. And so I did this through Amazon Web Services, which was my last semester's project. And I'm actually going to take you through how I do this right now. So let's work on this later. Let's look at AWS. When you go to database and you go to RDS, this is where I did majority of my project on. So sorry, it might take a little bit to load, but basically, this each of your own databases. So I'm going to just create an example database real quick to show you what I was going through. Basically, if you do standard create, you see that it does use some SQL and different types of SQL, but it also runs it through Amazon Aurora. And that's kind of what I wanted to run it through with the engine. Capacity type provision, blah, blah, blah. This is the type of Aurora. So then I can load my database. I'm just going to name it um, project C3 presentation. I mean, here's really cool. This basically allows me to log into my database a second time because only my account in AWS can actually access it. But through this, I have to know this password as well in order to get into the actual database, even if I'm logged into my account. So that's like a really cool security feature I found. Um, After this, a lot of this does not really matter too much, and then you create it. So once you create it, it might take a little bit. I'm actually not going to use this example database for this presentation real quick, but you can see I've created this database before, I've created this before, and here's the ones that we're making. You can see they're creating. So I'm going to show you the workouts instance. So when I click on this to find my database, there's actually a lot of cool features that I found. First, with connectivity, I figured out that we're actually running this through a server in Ohio, and I could actually change which server I'm running it through, but this seems to be the default because it's the easiest to connect through. But you can also connect it through Asia, Canada, Europe, and I thought that was pretty cool how wide of a variety of servers it has. Second, it also has monitoring, which I actually do not really find too useful or like like a necessity because my CPU was never at risk of being too run over. But if you have large databases, is it definitely something that could probably look through, and it's also a good way of recording data for like latency and kind of stuff. Then on logs and events, this is basically just an auditing thing. Like I can see what people did. If I were to add people to this, I can see what people did, and I can also create an alarm for when certain actions happen. It alerts me in case something happens. Configuration isn't that big of a deal. Now there's maintenance and tags, but it's security group rules. I thought this was pretty cool. You can set your own rules of what security you want. For example, there's this thing that AWS has called secrets, and it's basically just security questions to get in access to the data that you have. So if I were to add you, for example, I would create a security question for you that you make and that you answer. So that way, if someone tried to log into the server through your account, they would have to answer a security question specific to you, which is so called your secret. Additionally, there is encryption that AWS offers its own encryption system. There is you can like encrypt it 3 times over, which I think is really cool that it's super secure, even though it's like an database. And then you can also add a proxy server if you want. I didn't find that too necessary. So once I got here, I spent a lot of time working on security and all of that, but I didn't really know how to get the actual data in here, the actual workout sheet I wanted. So if we look here, this is like what my dad has. He's got all of these different workouts, and this was from a couple months ago, so it's even larger now. But it was actually pretty organized, but it was also not to the degree that I wanted it. So if we download this real quick, we can go to services, and then S3 is what I did. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I'm somewhat low on time. You can upload it, create what they call a bucket, which is just containers for data. For example, I have example for Christensen. That's actually what this is. This example for Christensen was the workout sheet. So if I click on that, then you can look in the folder, there's the workout sheet. So from here, what I did was I think it was actions. I went back to my database in RDS, right? So clicking a little bit, and the instances, basically you can just restore from S3 and get an example or get the database into its very own database. It's like you can get this workout sheet into its own database and secure the data. So I found this all in all really useful because when you restore from S3 and you get the workout sheet into here, your data becomes one, very encrypted, very private, lots of different security measures. I believe I used 5, like encryption, security questions, password, authorization, and proxy servers. That's 5 different verifications. And on top of that, I found it very easy to modify the data from here. They give you a couple options. You can create snapshots. I believe that's right here, where you can actually take snapshots of what your data looked like at a certain place or time. So that way you can restore it back to that certain place and time if you make a mistake. So yeah, I think I might go further with this in the future. I'm definitely going to use this a lot, even outside of computer science, just to secure data. It's like very secure. So I'm going to use that. That was pretty much my quarter. There wasn't much of an end result, but I did find it very educational in the end. So yeah, thank you.